Welcome back, infrastructure admins. Let's jump right into today's explainer, titled exactly NCP-MCI 7.5 9.7 Support Bundles and Troubleshooting. Picture this, your Nutanix cluster is throwing critical alerts, your virtual machines absolutely refuse to migrate, and you need help. Nutanix support is your best friend in this scenario, but here's the catch, they can't do a thing without data. So today we're going to explore exactly how to get that crucial data over to them. We'll be focusing specifically on generating and downloading a Move support bundle and how AOS cluster support bundles are gathered via the Prism UI and the command line. This is essential exam prep for the Nutanix NCP-MCI 7.5 certification, covering baseline AOS 7.5, AHV 11.0, and PC 7.5. Let's dive in.
To help you build progressive mastery for the exam, here's our roadmap. First, we'll cover why support bundles matter. Then we'll do a Move support bundle walkthrough, look at AOS cluster support bundles, tackle some common exam traps, and wrap up with key facts to memorize.
Okay, kicking things off with Section 1, Why Support Bundles Matter.
Before we really get into the weeds of troubleshooting, let's lock down a few core acronyms you're going to see repeatedly, not just on the certification exam, but in your daily administration. First, we have AOS, which stands for Acropolis Operating System. Think of this as the intelligent brain of your Nutanix cluster, handling all the distributed storage and management. Next is AHV, or the Acropolis Hypervisor. This is Nutanix's native hypervisor, basically the brawn that's actually running your virtual machines. Then we have the UI, or user interface. This refers to your web-based dashboards like Prism and Move, where you'll spend most of your time clicking through clean menus. And finally, the CLI, the command line interface. The CLI is where you often have to dig deep when things go sideways and the UI just isn't cooperating. Honestly, understanding how to extract logs from both interfaces is an absolute must-have skill for any infrastructure admin.
So the crucial point here is this. When your environment hits a major snag, you need rapid help from the experts at Nutanix Support. These support bundles provide the exact diagnostic breadcrumbs they need. We're talking system logs, service traces, and configuration states. But why package them up this way? Well, because these bundles deliberately strip out your actual virtual machine user payload data. They strictly grab metadata and service traces. This means if you're working in a highly regulated industry like healthcare or finance, you can confidently upload these bundles without triggering a massive compliance breach or exposing sensitive records. It's just a highly efficient, secure way to hand off complex data so support can zero in on the root cause.
Moving right along to Section 2, our Move support bundle walkthrough.
Nutanix Move is the appliance we use to migrate virtual machines, and it has its own specific process for generating support bundles. Let's start with the UI method. Imagine you're migrating a massive legacy 2 terabyte SQL server, and it repeatedly stalls at exactly 99%. You don't have time to guess what's going wrong. You simply log into the Nutanix Move VM dashboard, hit the gear icon in the top menu, and select Download Support Bundle. That's it! Your browser immediately initiates the download. Why use the UI in a scenario like this? Because it instantly drops a uniquely timestamped tar.gz file right onto your local workstation. You can immediately attach it to your Nutanix support portal ticket while you're already logged into that exact same machine. It skips any extra file transfer steps, making it incredibly fast during an active troubleshooting session.
But what about a completely different scenario? What if the Move UI crashes entirely, or a strict corporate firewall rule suddenly blocks your web console access? That's exactly where the CLI comes to the rescue. And for the exam, you need to know the specific requirements here. First, you have to log into the Nutanix Move VM via SSH as the root user. Once you're in, you execute a straightforward command, support bundle. Now, there's an optional flag here called --dump path. Why might you use that instead of just letting it output to the default directory? Well, log partitions can fill up extremely fast. If your default home directory is low on disk space, generating a massive log bundle right there could actually crash the Move VM entirely by filling up the disk. By using that dump path flag, you safely pipe the support bundle to a secondary mount or a directory with plenty of space, keeping the appliance perfectly stable while you gather your diagnostics. As an infrastructure admin preparing for the NCP-MCI exam, you really need to understand the core operational difference between these two methods. The UI method actively pushes the compressed file directly to your local workstation's download folder. It's a quick, one-and-done action. The CLI method, on the other hand, keeps the archive locally on the Nutanix VM's file system, unless you specify otherwise. This means if you use the CLI, you're almost certainly going to need a secondary tool, like WinSCP or another secure copy client, to actually extract that file off the VM and onto a machine where you can upload it. Yes, it adds an extra step to your workflow, but it is an absolutely essential failsafe when web access is compromised.
All right, let's jump into Section 3, AOS Cluster Support Bundles.
Nutanix uses a telemetry feature called Pulse to securely stream high-level cluster state data back to home base. But when things go wrong, Nutanix support doesn't want to fly blind. If your Pulse data shows a storage pool degrading, support will trigger something called remote diagnostics to request highly granular data from your Pulse-enabled cluster. The exam writers absolutely want you to know exactly what remote diagnostics is allowed to pull. Think of it as an automated triage medic. It pulls Nutanix services logs to check the software layer, hypervisor logs to see if the host hardware itself is acting up, Nutanix Cluster Check or NCC health reports to pinpoint exactly what failed, the Panacea log summary report, and the outputs of a strictly curated set of read-only commands. It's a comprehensive 360-degree view of your cluster's health, and again, it strictly avoids your underlying virtual machine user data.
Now, when you're actually opening a support case directly from within the Prism UI, you're presented with a very specific option. You'll see a checkbox that simply says Attach Log Bundle. The exam will heavily test your memory on the retention window attached to this specific Prism feature. It explicitly attaches log files from the last 4 hours. Make sure you burn that 4-hour window into your memory for test day. So why exactly 4 hours? Well, AOS cluster logs are insanely verbose. If Prism tried to grab a full 24 hours worth of logs from a massive 12-node cluster, the file would be gigabytes in size, and it would take hours just to compress. That 4-hour window is the architectural sweet spot. It captures the immediate cascade of events leading up to your outage without totally crushing your management services in the process.
Let's move right into Section 4, Common Exam Traps.
Okay, let's shift gears from standard daily administration into a precise testing mindset. The Nutanix exam writers aren't just going to ask if you can click a generic support button. They want to know if you truly understand the underlying mechanics, the version histories, and the security implications. They love aggressively targeting version-specific features and audit trails to separate the novices from the experts. So let's look closely at 2 specific traps you are highly likely to encounter. First up, pay close attention to versioning details regarding Nutanix Move. Standard Move support bundles contain essential logs from the Move VM itself and the Hyper-V agent. However, starting specifically from Nutanix Move Release 1.1.3, the support bundle quietly started including something else: ping statistics for your source ESXi hosts and your target AHV hosts. Why does this tiny detail matter so much? Because migration failures are almost always rooted in underlying DNS or network latency issues. This small version update gave infrastructure admins a massive head start in diagnosing slow transfers by proving network connectivity right there in the bundle. Knowing that ping stats were specifically added in version 1.1.3 is a classic trivia trap. Be ready for it.
Here's the second major trap, and it's regarding remote diagnostics. Security and auditing are heavily tested objectives. Imagine your chief information security officer demands to know exactly who has been pulling diagnostic data off your production cluster. Remote diagnostics is fully transparent for this exact reason. Every single time it triggers a collection, it leaves a footprint in the cluster's audit trail. But here's the trick. It doesn't just leave a single summary entry. It always leaves exactly 2 distinct entries, one for the start or initiation of the diagnostics collection, and a completely separate second entry for the finish or termination. If you see a multiple-choice question offering one summary entry as an answer for a remote diagnostics trigger, you know immediately it's a trap. The answer is definitively 2. Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Key Facts to Memorize. We're in the home stretch, so let's lock in a rapid-fire summary designed for your last-minute review right before you walk into that testing center. Just memorize these 4 vital bullets. First, the UI file name format for a Move bundle is always Move Support Bundle, followed by the date ending in .tar.gz. Second, to safely change the output directory in the Move CLI, run the command with the --dump path parameter. Third, when creating a support case directly in Prism, the automatically attached log bundle covers exactly the last 4 hours. And fourth, Move version 1.13 and later uniquely includes those tricky ping stats for network troubleshooting.
Understanding these exact mechanics transforms you from a reactive administrator into a highly proactive infrastructure engineer. You can engage Nutanix support instantly, armed with exactly the right data from the correct interface, completely bypassing hours of unnecessary initial triage. So the next time your cluster throws a critical alert, ask yourself, are you going to waste precious time guessing at the problem, or are you going to confidently generate the correct bundle and find the absolute truth? Good luck studying for Objective 9.7, and I look forward to exploring more exam topics with you in our next explainer.